Okay, everybody, Phil here again. Welcome. This is part 2 of Ask the King, episode 60 for July 7th, 2016. I strongly recommend you go back and watch part 1 if you have not seen it yet. Lots of good questions this time around, as usual. But now, because I have so many, let's jump right back into the fray, shall we? All right. Our next question from Hoovian Dragon. What a nice name. It's an interesting name. He says, "Hello, Phil. I have an interesting question for you. It's a what-if question, but it's interesting nonetheless. If Nintendo were to end up going out of business in the future, and Sony and Microsoft were still neck and neck in the gaming industry, where do you think that the popular Nintendo characters would go? Will they get split up between the two companies? Do you think that one company will end up buying out all of their characters? Will they die out and not even go on to other companies? Also, a follow-up question, do you think the companies will try to keep the Nintendo characters close to what they were, or change how the games will be played overall?" Whew. That is a loaded question, because it is a hell of a what-if question. I mean, you're assuming, number one, Nintendo's going to keep on the path of failure that they've had for a while now in their console gaming market, and that whatever they do in the future, whether it's the NX or whatever the next big thing is, that they're never going to end up turning things around and start turning a profit again. The bottom line is Nintendo is still making money, but it's because they diversified amongst things like amiibos and such, and are they making as much money when they were super popular, white hot, synonymous with console gaming? No, but they're certainly not in a situation where they're going to go out of business, okay? So it definitely is a what-if question. If Nintendo were to actually officially go out of business, what I would say is probably what they would do, I mean, this is my take, would be to sell their characters off on a licensed basis, meaning no one owns the characters, but you can purchase a license to create a game with those characters, such as what happened with Sonic the Hedgehog. If you remember, Sonic was the synonymous character with Sega, and the Sega Genesis, and the Sega CD, and all the Sega brand was Sonic, Sonic, Sonic. And then Sega went out of business, and they still exist, but nowhere in the capacity that they used to. They don't make games anymore. Instead, they just license out their character Sonic. And look, Sonic has been on a ridiculous amount of consoles. Nintendo, Microsoft, PlayStation, everywhere. Because the bottom line is you're going to want to have the most exposure and the most potential to bring in profit. So why limit yourself to only one console line? If Mario was only on the Xbox, what about the entire giant market of people who own the PlayStation 4, right? And vice versa. It really doesn't make any sense that they would do one and not the other, okay? So, that's what I think would be the smart business decision. Now, I'll be honest, though, Nintendo doesn't usually make the smart business decision. Nintendo usually has this hoity-toity kind of a we are the best, the elitists of gaming. We know better than everyone else. We're innovators. Right? We don't care. We don't have to compare. We don't have to compete with graphics. We don't have to compete with everyone else. We do whatever we want, and we're just going to survive because we're the best. And that attitude has not worked for them recently. It did at one point. At one point, they went against the grain, and they did things completely differently, and it worked for them. Not for the past 5 or so years. They have gone all the way down as a console creator and a game creator, and then now they're just starting to plateau a little bit with the Wii U, and it's the amiibos that are shooting their sales back up. What's going to happen with this NX? I have no idea. But, I mean, I seriously would not be surprised, even though I don't think this would be the smart business decision, if Nintendo was going out, there's a, you know what? That's it, we're retiring everyone. No more Mario, no more Donkey Kong, no more, none of our classic, they're all done. They're done, no more. We're done as a game company. Thanks for 30, 40 some years of success as a game maker, and see you in hell. And that would be it. And that would it. They would all fall into obscurity and never be seen again. Because that's how Nintendo is. They're the best, so if they failed, that means we're at fault. The consumers were at fault for the failure of the Wii U, obviously. It's our fault for not embracing the new technology and knowing that Nintendo knew better than us, right? So, I mean, obviously, because then, of course, they came out with the Amiibos, and the Amiibos are a hit. So it must have been that we just didn't understand the Wii U. That's how Nintendo is. Culturally wise, the way they think is fucking nuts. So I don't know what would happen. I told you what I think the smart thing would be, okay? Now, I actually have 2 questions that were directly related, so I'm going to read them both, and then I'm going to answer them collectively, all right? So the first question was from Final Light. He said, "Hey Phil, you haven't talked about your back for a long time. What's the situation now? Since you haven't really talked about your back much, I figured that it's not bad like it used to be. Hope to hear a positive answer." And then the other question was actually from Atlas Telemon, and he asked, "Phil, with the obvious weight loss across the years that you've had, the different climate in Seattle, and your back seeming to be in better shape, would you share with us an update on your health? In conjunction, do you take painkillers? Is your health insurance sorted out? Would you ever consider using medicinal marijuana since it's legal now in the state of Washington?" Wow, what a question. So let me give you some cumulative answers here, all right? Health-wise, first, my back. My back is not perfectly fixed. All right, it's never going to be perfectly fixed. When you have back issues like I had, a severely herniated disc to the point where the disc was ready to rupture, but just luckily didn't, you're never going to be fully 100% like you were again, all right? I would never take it upon myself to run out and do physical sports, again, tackling and shit, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be lifting heavy weights or doing heavy kind of moving around or anything like that for an extended period of time. Not to say that there aren't physical things that I do, but that if I do them, I try to really keep them down so that I don't overdo it and end up re-injuring myself. Now, the good news is, for the most part, since I've moved to the state of Washington, my back only hurts in certain situations. If I'm on my feet for an extended period of time, or if I'm in the same position for an extended period of time. So if I'm sitting here for 6 hours not moving, playing a game, and I get up, my back hurts. So that's why I take breaks during my streams and stuff so that I can walk around and stretch out and not have my back be all jacked up all day, okay? But for the most part, because of the new living situation that I'm in, I have a garage, right? So when I go grocery shopping or whatever, I can bring stuff right into my kitchen. I'm not going up and down stairs. I'm not doing crazy amounts of walking back and forth with heavy stuff. Everything where I live now that I need is in a short driving distance, including groceries, food, home improvement supplies, electronics, entertainment, like there's an arcade, movie theater, anything you could think of that we would want is within, say, a 20-minute driving distance. I have no reason to drive for a long period of time. I have not gotten on the highway once since we've moved here 2 years ago. That's how crazy. We've driven to Seattle, downtown Seattle. We don't have to get on a highway. We can drive on a normal road. It takes like 40 minutes to get there. It's wild how awesome everything is location-wise for us here. So in many ways, it's kind of like the flip side of what the situation was in Connecticut. In Connecticut, there was snow, there was ice, there was potential to slip, there was potential I had to shovel stuff and get my car out, right? I didn't have a good location in my condo. Whenever I went grocery shopping, I had to carry heavy bags across this giant parking lot and then into a staircase and then up to my condo. It was a pain in the ass. You know, all these things now I'm avoiding. I don't have to do them anymore. So it's a much better situation, and in that regard, things are good. Also, what I'm eating now is much healthier than what I was eating when I was a bachelor back in Connecticut. Leanna cooks a decent amount. She probably, I would say, cooks more than half of the week. Maybe once or twice tops we go out to get something to eat a week. But for the rest of the week, she's cooking, and she's cooking healthy things like pork chops, pork loin, chicken. Tomorrow we're having chicken thighs. Right now she's marinating the chicken thighs in this delicious sauce that we bought. Oh my God, we had it 2 weeks ago. It was the most mouth-watering chicken I think I've ever had in my life. I almost, like, fucking passed out at the table. It was so fucking good. And that's what I mean, like, healthy meal. Broccoli, mixed veggies, some bread here or there, things like that. I'm not eating the fast food crap that I was eating all the time when I was a bachelor in Connecticut. So right now, diet-wise, my body is much better than it ever has been. Now, weight-wise, I'm certainly nowhere near as light as I ever was, but I'm nowhere near as big as I was. Especially when I started on YouTube, I was pushing like 240 pounds is a lot of weight for one person, all right? So I was pushing it. And now I think on average, I average between 200 to 220, and it fluctuates. Sometimes I'll be down, sometimes I'll be up. And I know if I worked out, if I ate a little bit better or whatever, and I could probably get it down to just under 200. I think my ideal weight's supposed to be like 190 or 195, and I'm like 10, 15 pounds over that. But I'm okay with that because the bottom line is I'm not so heavy that it's hurting my back. You know what I mean? Now, in regards to medications and stuff, all right, there was a time when I was in Connecticut, my back always hurt. I always had shooting nerve pain, okay? It got to the point where my legs were numb. That's how bad my back was. That's really bad. When you get numbness in your limbs, you're in trouble. Okay, it means that you are on the precipice of being paralyzed. One step away. But I never took painkillers. Never. Because I have a few people in my family who have addictive personalities, and they got addicted to some bad stuff. And in particular, one of them is a close relative of mine who will remain nameless, but has never in their entire life been off of something. Let's put it that way. And I know for a fact that more than likely, with the kind of person that I am, with the history that I am, that I tend to sometimes get addicted to certain things, that if I were to start taking painkillers, I may become dependent on them. Now I can't even start my day until I have my painkiller today, right? I gotta pop the pills. And I don't want that life. I don't want to become a zombie. I don't want to become a slave to it and then become where the whole life is about it, right? So I do self-medicate. When I do have some pain in my back, I have a drink or two to numb it a little bit. And I try not to go overboard with any kind of self-medication that I do. No, I don't smoke marijuana, and I've already said this before, and I've said it again, I never will, because I hate smoking. I hate the feeling of smoke in my lungs, because I actually have weak lungs, because my mother was a chain smoker. She still is a chain smoker. And I grew up in a house where it was constantly full of cigarette smoke. She smoked when she was pregnant, and I have very weak lungs. So I wouldn't, you always hear me sometimes, I'm coughing and everything. It's mostly because of my health issues with my lungs and stuff like that. If it's a cold winter's day and there's a cold breeze coming by, I can't breathe. The cold air actually makes my lungs freeze up, because my lungs are not like the strongest that there are. They're actually much weaker than a lot of other people's. So I tried smoking when I was in high school. I smoked marijuana too. I'll openly admit it. Yes. I hate it. I hate that feeling of smoke in my lung. It hurts me. It actually makes me feel ill. So I never would want to smoke marijuana. And painkillers, I would not want to get hooked on. So I never have professionally medicated anything with my back or anything like that. It's always just been self-medication if I had anything. All right. Now, I believe you had one more question in here. Hold on. Oh, the health insurance situation. He says, is my health insurance sorted out? And in regards to this, if you're not aware, last year I had a lot of problems with my health. I had some issues with my foot having pain and swelling up, and I had to go to the doctor for it. And it ended up costing me over $1,000 just to go to the doctor, get an x-ray, and get a blood test, and get a medication. Those 4 things I needed to get done. I got them done. And at the end of it, I ended up out of pocket paying over $1,000 for those 4 things. Okay. Now, in addition, I pay health insurance. I pay over $200 a month for health insurance. So it's not like I was uninsured. No, I had to pay last year around $1,200 or so dollars more than that. It was probably around $1,500 for health insurance. Plus, I footed over $1,000 for the one time that I actually went to the doctor and got medical care. That's how health insurance works in the United States if you actually are self-employed. Because the bottom line is, if you work for an employer who has like a group plan, the group plans are generally covered a lot better, and you don't have as high of much of a deductible or anything like that. So what that means is you can pretty much go get anything taken care of. You don't have to worry about paying a lot out of pocket. On the flip side, if you don't have a job in the United States, you're covered by welfare and or Medicare or whatever it is, and you get free health care. Free. You never get a bill. You can go for anything, and it's free. But me, because I'm in the middle, I'm middle class, I'm self-employed, I'm fucked. And the bottom line is, it wasn't like that until President Obama launched this Obamacare initiative a couple years ago and changed the way health insurance works. Literally, what happened was my health insurance provider said, sorry, because of Obamacare, we can't give you the quality of insurance we used to give you anymore. I used to pay a lot of money. I'll be honest with everyone. I used to pay around $300-something a month. And I would have full coverage, dental and medical. And if I went to the doctor, maybe I would have a little bit of a copay or whatever, but it was mostly covered. When Obamacare went into effect, they discontinued my health plan. They said, here's a shitty health plan for $200 a month, but it covers nothing. So I pay $200 a month for nothing. And if I get sick, I go to the doctor and I pay for everything anyway. That's the new healthcare plan thanks to President Obama, because he was really thinking when he fucked over the middle class, because that's what he did with Obamacare. He helped those who are at the bottom, which is good. I fully support you want to help the people at the bottom, fine. But at the expense of people who are hard workers and do everything right and fucking pay their taxes, and now I have shitty healthcare. And the bottom line is, at the end of last year, after having to pay all this money out of pocket, I looked at all the healthcare plans, right? And guess what? There's no good one available for me. I looked at all of them, and they all, okay, you can make a much higher monthly, so I could pay $500 to $600 a month and not have to pay anything out of pocket, but then I'm paying for it anyway. So literally what happened, Obamacare raised my healthcare costs by thousands of dollars a year. If I'm sick and I go to the doctor, I have to pay a ridiculous amount of money. And I'll be honest, right now, I have a problem with my jaw. On my right-hand side, I've been talking about it sometimes on pre-streams lately. The right-hand side of my mouth. Right now, I can't close it all the way. If I do, I get excruciating pain right here in the joint, all right? If I actually take my jaw like this and I move it like this, okay, to the side, I get sharp pain right here. But then when I release it, it goes away, and now I can close my jaw. No pain. The problem is it only lasts about 20 minutes or so, and then the pain comes back. So obviously something's messed up either with the muscle or with my jaw here, and I looked it up online, and they said it could be a few things. More than likely, it's nothing super serious. But guess what would happen if I went to the doctor? I'm not even exaggerating. The doctor would first prescribe the same medication that they prescribed for my foot last year. Guess how much that would cost me? Like $500. So I'd go to the doctor. Oh, you have a problem with your jaw? Here's your prescription. $500 bill comes to the house. And it wouldn't even fix it. All it would do is, if I have inflammation in the jaw, make it go down. It wouldn't fix the problem. It would just make some of the pain go away. So what the fuck is the point? See what I mean? This is the American healthcare system. So really, if I wanted this fixed, I'd have to go to the doctor repeatedly while they test over months and see what's going on with it. They'd have to do all this shit. Eventually, maybe I'd have to have surgery or something for this minor pain in my jaw. It would probably cost me $5,000 or more that I don't have. I just don't have the money. I don't have the finances. I don't have the money to drop that for a little pain in my jaw. So ultimately, what's happening to the middle class of Americans, we're just not going to the doctor anymore. And actually, they did research. They said, I read an article about this last week. Since Obamacare went into effect, they did a survey, and they said, how many people go to the doctor and don't? Healthcare spending has plummeted since Obamacare went into effect. Because what happened is, all the middle class are saying, fuck it, we don't have money to pay for everything every time we need to go to the doctor, so they just don't go anymore. So you've got millions of middle class Americans who are sick, who are in pain all the time, and they can't afford it, so they're just not going to the doctor, and they're suffering at home, like me, because of it, because Obama is a fucking idiot and didn't think his whole plan through. He thought halfway, I'll help this group of people, but what will the repercussions be for everyone else? Who cares about that? I care about this one group of people, and they fucked everyone else. And this is what, unfortunately, what happens with a lot of things in the United States government, is you get well-intentioned people. I have no problem with the fact that Obama wanted to help lower class people who had no health insurance. None. I 100% agree with that. But can you think of a plan that doesn't completely fuck another class of people? If you want to fuck someone, fuck the rich. Don't fuck me. I'm the one who's working my ass off. I'm the one, because I'm self-employed, I'm paying extra taxes more than all the other Americans. I pay more because I'm self-employed, and I'm the one who got fucked by his plan. It just, I don't know. And I know right now people are watching this video, and undoubtedly I'm going to get a ton of messages saying, Phil, just go to the doctor, just do it. And I guarantee you that 95% of the people that send the messages are people who live in other countries, who if you go to the doctor, you can get your problems taken care of. Here, I would have to take multiple trips, no guarantee that this would even get fixed, and I would end up paying thousands of dollars that I don't fucking have. So as it is right now, I just don't close the right-hand side of my jaw all the way. And the bottom line is, even to eat, I don't need to do that. It doesn't even hurt when I eat. It only hurts if I, by chance, try to close my mouth all the way. When I go to sleep, naturally, my mouth doesn't close all the way. So it doesn't affect me. It really is a non-effectual thing. Now, if it gets really worse, then I'll go to the doctor. But sorry, unless, you know what I mean? Unless someone's going to send me $5,000 to cover my deductible for this year, I can't get it looked at. I don't have the money. I don't. It's bullshit, I know. The government is a piece of shit that fucks us all the time with stuff like this, but oh well, that's the price I pay for being an American, I guess. All right, that was an in-depth answer, wasn't it? Let's see. Next question is from Ano Rub. And Ano Rub says, hey Phil, with Doom and Overwatch both being released this year, do you think that 2016 might be the first-person shooter year, like in 2009, what it was with fighting games with Street Fighter 4 and the resurgence of several other franchises following it? Excuse me. You know, it's funny because I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this over the years. I said, It seems to me now that I'm covering games for YouTube that it comes in waves of popularity, right? At one point, a certain kind of game will be very popular, it'll hit a peak, and then it'll go and dip to a valley, right? Fighting games weren't very popular. Oh, they were super popular in the 90s, all the way to the late 90s, early 2000s, woo! And then they kind of went like this, and then around the early to mid 2000s, they went down like this. And they were gone for a good 4 or 5 years until Street Fighter 4 released, and they went up like this, and you had Street Fighter 4 and all its iterations, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, right? The Tekken resurged, and Mortal Kombat re-released, and up. And now you got Street Fighter 5, and I get the feeling, honestly, strongly, it's going to start to go like a plateau, and maybe you'll see a little bit. You know, this is how it happens, right? First-person shooters. When I started on YouTube, first-person shooters were insanely huge because of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, right? Modern Warfare 1 and 2 were giant games that resurged the entire industry. Remember, you had Battlefield, Bad Company, the Call of Duty series, you had Halo, you had Killzone. Oh, God, what was the other popular one for a while there? I can't remember the name of it now. Oh, there was one other franchise that was huge. But anyway, then you had the spin-off, things like Bulletstorm, you know, these standalone first-person shooter games, Spec Ops The Line, remember that one? All these games that were first-person shooters, but they had, actually was Spec Ops a first-person shooter? Now I can't even remember. But what I'm saying is, first-person shooter formula, throw in a variation of story or gameplay mechanic, and it was huge. No matter what kind of game it was, it ended up being like a bestseller. And then, I'd say probably around 2011, 2012, decline again. And now what you've got is oversaturation, where you've got Call of Duty every year, no one likes it anymore. I mean, look at Infinite Warfare, the insanely negative feedback that it's getting. But, all of a sudden this year, Anna Rubb is right, we had a resurgence. All of a sudden, we had Doom, a classic first-person shooter franchise we haven't heard from in quite some time, comes out with a new version of their game, modernized, and it's great, and it sells great, and everyone's like, wow, we did not expect this, but it's amazingly good. And we're all happy, right? Overwatch, a game that took the formula from a game like Team Fortress 2 and for the first time in like 10 years, modernized it a bit, put 21 characters into the game to start, and everyone's playing Overwatch, right? The competitive team-based first-person shooter is back in a big way. Now, we do have a game like Infinite Warfare that probably a lot of people are going to not fucking play this year, but then you got the flip side, Battlefield 1, a game that's going to go back to the roots of the series and play as a more classic, old-school first-person shooter game. It could be a resurgence. Yeah, I'm very interested to see, with all the games coming out the rest of this year, is this the year of the first-person shooter resurgence? And will we see in the coming years first-person shooters now get more and more attention because of it? I don't know, but that's how it tends to happen, all right? The next question is from I Cured It With My Brain, and he asked the following. I recently read an article about Comcast. Apparently, they're raising their data cap to 1,000 gigabytes or 1 terabyte per month in a trial market or trial markets as an experiment. With the amount of videos that you post daily, I'm curious, on average, how many gigabytes of data do you use per month? I do use Comcast. And yes, this actually a couple months ago, this was a news story, and I actually tweeted about it and said, I completely disagree with this kind of bullshit. It is bullshit, because the bottom line is, if the companies have operated and have been profitable with unlimited data, the only reason for them to institute a data cap is because they want more money. Has nothing to do with the fact that they don't have the capability and that, you know, that technology isn't advancing to need unlimited data. It's they see this. They see the greed, the need for greed, right? And they're like, well, if people are using more and more data, why give it to them all for free? We'll give them a 1 terabyte a month, and then we'll charge them like $5 extra per terabyte or $10, you know, whatever it will be. I'm sure it'll be insane. It won't be like $5. It'll be like $100 for an extra terabyte or something. And they are doing this in limited markets. I don't know why they're doing it in limited markets. They're not doing it here, by the way. I think it was like Baton Rouge or something, somewhere like the South, southern United States. Don't know why they're doing it there, okay? But of course, everyone had an uproar about it and said, what is this bullshit? How could they do this? Yada, yada, yada. The bottom line is this. I don't know what my data is, my data usage, because I don't know about live streaming. Live streaming, I'm doing like 9,000 kilobytes or kilobits a second. So just think about that. In a second, I'm doing that much, and I'm streaming for 3.5 hours a day, right? So you got that data use daily, plus I'm uploading videos, which I don't know what the upload usage is, but I do know that each video that I make, let's say I make a 15-minute video, on average, depending on the game and how much is going on, it could be anywhere from like a gigabyte to maybe up to 2 gigabytes. Sometimes it could exceed that if it's a longer video. So you're talking every day I'm making 10, 12 videos. So you're talking, 10, 20 gigs of upload a day, right? So right there, if you're talking 20 gigs a day times 30 days, that's a lot. You know what I mean? That's not chicken scratch. Plus all the uploading with the streaming that I'm doing. Chances are I would be exceeding their terabyte limit, okay? But the caps they're talking about are for basic customer use. The standard customer who pays the base amount for internet is going to get the data cap. I have the business line. The reason I have the business line is because a business needs unlimited internet. It needs the fastest possible internet to operate. Therefore, if they tried to institute a data cap on me, I could sue them. I could actually say no. When I signed up for your business line years ago, the agreement was unlimited data usage so I could operate my business. If you cap my business line, you're effectively putting me out of business, and I would actually have legal means to sue them for damages for, let's say, for example, my business couldn't operate using their internet anymore. And let's say how much money I make a year. I could sue them for it. So they'd be legally liable for whatever my income is for the year because they turned off the internet per the contract that we both signed when I started with their service 2 years ago. So actually, they can't do that to me. Not to say they wouldn't try, but you would think someone, especially because I'm paying so much more. I'm paying more than double what the average internet user pays for my internet. So I doubt, even if they instituted a data cap, right, then they'd have to lower the price of my internet to make it an average so I could pay for the extra for whatever I'm using. Chances are I'd end up paying the same anyway. So I see where you're going with your question. I cured it with my brain. The answer is I'm not at risk. It's not going to affect me, luckily, and there's no worries on that front. But I wholeheartedly disagree with the data caps. They're obviously doing it for this, and I do agree that it should be shut down. It needs to stop because Comcast already is fucking greedy enough. All right. Next question from Final Light. He says, Phil, I doubt you'll ever get to this question, but how do you do your hair? Oh. When I try to slick it back, it doesn't work. It gets destroyed after 20 minutes, and it puffs up and looks like shit. Can you give me advice on how to make your hair stay the way it is, and how long does that process take? Have a great one. Well, my hair, as you can see, it is crushed by the hat right now, so it is extra flat than how it usually is. But I am a big chunk Italian, and in my heritage, it just is oily. Oily skin, oily hair. I've always had oily skin and oily hair. So because I have oily hair, I'm actually able to just take a brush. I have a brush, and I wet it, and I brush my hair back. It takes me about 5 minutes. I brush it into place. And for the most part, unless I'm like fresh out of the shower and it puffs up a little bit when it dries, for the most part, the natural oils in my hair let it stay. Now, when I first started with this hairdo, I didn't know that. And I actually had hair gel. I was buying hair gels and stuff. And I was combing it back with this hair gel. And it looked all right. But number one, it smelled. All hair gel has a smell to it. And I didn't like the smell. And number two, what actually ended up happening was I would sweat because of the hair gel would make my hair heavy. My head would sweat, and I ended up getting rashes all across the back of my neck and on my ears from this hair gel because of it. And after using it for about 1.5 years, when I started doing my hair like this, I said, fuck it, just for the hell of it, I'm going to stop using the hair gel. And I stopped using the hair gel. I just started brushing my hair back with water, and it's fine. So I never needed the hair gel to begin with. If you have hair that's drier and doesn't have the natural oils to hold it in place, you're going to need to get some kind of a hair gel. I don't recommend getting the cakey shit because it ends up flaking. It ends up being really heavy. You can get one that's a lighter hold, okay? I've never used hairspray. I've heard some people use hairspray and have success with it. But for the most part, the 2-year experiment I had with hair gel, it worked, but it was horrible for my skin. I ended up stopped using it, and now I just use water and oil, and we're all good, all right? We've got about 1 page left of questions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read the patrons list. If you don't know who this is, here, give a little plug here to my Patreon down the bottom left-hand corner. These are people who pledged $10 or more to my Patreon in the months of May and June. So these are names from 2 different months. This is their kind of shout-out thank you segment that they get as one of their perks. And then I'm going to end this part, take a little break, and come back and film the final part of Ask the King for this month. All right? All right, here we go. So, special thank you to the following patrons who basically make this possible. I guess I should put the hat back on. They make all this possible through their ongoing contributions, all right? Kevin Stiles, C. Shepard, AJ, Hassan Kati, Blaine Mayo, Atlas Telemann, Ripley, Florin Sabau, I always say it's probably Sabot, and I always say it wrong, Epic Loggy HD, Vidar Viking Elvigen, or Elvigen, not sure how to pronounce that, Alexander Helm, Kazi, Guitar Player 1939, Tom Dooley, Low Tier Lord, Sammy Samosa, Ben Wynn, Sam Benson, Erwin Hames, Mike Hunt 2018, Jose Fernandez, Saint Jimmy, Christine Gebhardt, Michael Deneal, or Deneo, I don't know how to pronounce it, Damian Tubino Geiger, The Fire Rises, that's a cool name, Kiernan Milburn, that's his legal name, by the way, The Fire Rises, Sam Michigan, Sean Bedford, Thomas McDonald, Hank Duma, Faithin13, Papa Neeks, Sean Given, QPZMWN, he probably does that on purpose, complicated, so there's no way I could read it quickly. Jesus with Lightsabers, always a favorite of mine. Joe Wiltshire, Last Rambo 341, Logan Shannon, Francisco Resto, Aaron Carpenter, Jacob Hendricks, The Hidden Boss, Planet Jeff, Matthew Capers, Cito, and Chelsea 1973. Thank you to all of you. You guys are awesome, and your ongoing contributions allow me to continue to do this stuff daily for free. All right. Thanks, everyone. Time for a short break. I'll be back with the third and final part of Ask the King right here on the King of Hate vlogs, so don't go anywhere. Check it out once you can. See you then.